Time is limited. Use it wisely. That's not just a statement. It's a wake-up call. Every single day that passes is a day you'll never get back. Too many people live as if they've got forever. They procrastinate, they wait, they make excuses, and they assume tomorrow is guaranteed. But listen to me, tomorrow is not promised. The only time you truly own is right now. The problem is that most people don't understand the value of time until it's too late. They waste hours, days, even years doing things that don't move them closer to their purpose. They spend time chasing comfort, scrolling through distractions, or talking about dreams instead of chasing them. Then one day they look back and realize that time has slipped through their fingers. You can make more money, you can build more relationships, you can recover from failure, but you can never make more time. Once it's gone forever. That's why every moment matters. Every second is a seed. What you plant today determines what you will harvest tomorrow. You've got to start treating your time like it's gold, because it is. When you wake up in the morning, you're given 24 hours, the same 24 hours as every great person who ever lived. The difference between average and extraordinary isn't talent, it's how people use their time. Some people wake up and immediately go after their goals. They plan their day, they execute, they stay focused. Others hit snooze, complain about their situation, and wait for life to change. But life doesn't change for the ones who wait. It changes for the ones who work. You've got to stop wasting time on things and people that drain your energy. Every moment spent on negativity is a moment stolen from your potential. Every argument, every doubt, every distraction costs you something. Time is like currency. You're spending it every minute. The question is, what are you buying with it? Are you investing it into your growth, your vision, your purpose? Or are you wasting it on things that won't matter a week, a month, or a year from now? You can't get to your destiny if you keep spending your time like it's unlimited. The truth is, your expiration date is already written. You just don't know when it is. So what are you going to do with the time you got left? If you knew you had 1 year to live, would you still spend your time complaining, scrolling through social media, or talking about what you're going to do someday? No, you move differently. You love harder, work smarter, and go after everything you've ever wanted. You stop caring about opinions and start caring about impact. That's the mindset you need every single day, because in reality, you don't know how much time you have. You might have decades left, or maybe just days. That's why you gotta live with urgency, with purpose, with fire. Every morning you wake up, you're being given another opportunity to make something happen. Don't waste it waiting for motivation. Create your own. Some people say, I don't have time. That's a lie. You got the same 24 hours everyone else. You're just not managing it right. You've got time for what you make time for. You've got time for Netflix, for gossip, for laziness, but not for your goals. That's not a lack of time. That's a lack of priority. Successful people aren't special. They're intentional. They guard their time like it's their most valuable possession, because it is. They cut off distractions. They set boundaries. They focus on what matters. If it doesn't feed their purpose, they don't feed it their time. When you start to understand the true value of time, you stop wasting it. You stop saying a later because you realize that a later is not guaranteed. You stop putting your dreams on hold because you finally understand that every delay has a cost. You stop waiting for perfect conditions because you know perfection never comes. Never comes. Progress does. You take action, even when you're scared, even when you're tired, even when it's not convenient. You do it because you know the clock is ticking. You do it because you refuse to die with your potential still inside you. One of the biggest regrets people have at the end of their life is not what they did. It's what they didn't do. They regret the risks they didn't take. The chances they didn't chase. The dreams they let fade. Don't be that person. Don't let your story end with I wish I had. Let it end with I gave everything I had. Make your time count. Every day, every hour, minute. It's a piece of your legacy. What you do with your time determines who you become. When you start to see time as sacred, you live differently. You start getting up earlier, working harder, and saying, I know the things that don't align with your purpose. You stop waiting for inspiration and start becoming the inspiration. You stop counting the days and stop counting the days count. Your story has power. Everything you've been through, every hardship, every mistake, every victory, it all carries a message. Most people don't realize that the story they're ashamed of might be the exact thing that helps someone else heal, grow, or keep fighting. You don't have to be perfect to inspire others. You just have to be honest. You just have to be real enough to share your journey. The power of your story doesn't come from how flawless it is. It comes from how human it is. Because somewhere right now, there's someone who feels like giving up, someone who thinks they're alone in their struggle, and your story might be the reason they realize they're not. Think about it. All the pain, all the setbacks, all the times you felt broken or lost, they weren't for nothing. Life doesn't waste experiences. The things that were meant to break you can become the very things that build you. You went through that storm not just to survive, but to show others that survival is possible. When people hear your story, when they see that you went through darkness and still found light, it gives them hope that they can too. That's the real power of your story. It transfers belief. It reminds others that if you made it, they can too. Too many people hide their stories because they're embarrassed or afraid of judgment. They think their pain makes them weak, their past disqualifies them, or their failures define them. But listen to me. Your pain doesn't disqualify you, it qualifies you. Your scars are proof that you didn't quit. They're reminders that you've been through battles and came out stronger. Don't hide your scars. Someone else needs to see them. Someone else needs to know that healing is possible. When you speak your truth, you give others permission to do the same. You create connection, understanding, and courage. The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more real people. People who've been through the fire and still have faith. People who've made mistakes but kept growing. People who've been knocked down, chose to get back up. Your story becomes powerful when you own it. Every chapter, every page, stop trying to erase the parts that hurt and start realizing they're part of what makes you authentic. The struggle you're ashamed of might be the story someone else needs to hear to keep believing in themselves. Every powerful leader, speaker, or influencer you've ever known has one thing in common. They share their story. Eric Thomas didn't hide his pain when he talked about being homeless, dropping out of school, or struggling to find his purpose. He shared it because it was real. And that realness is what connects him to millions. When people hear his story, they see themselves in it. That's what your story can do too. It bridges the gap between your past and someone else's future. It turns pain into power and struggle into strength. You might not realize it yet, but your story is your gift. It's your way of serving the world. You don't need to have a massive platform or millions of followers to make an impact. You can inspire your family, your friends, your community, just by being open about what you've been through. Your story might not reach everyone, but it will reach the right one. And sometimes changing one life is more powerful than reaching 1,000. You never know who's watching, who's listening, who's quietly taking notes from your life. Your story also reminds you of your own resilience. When you look back and see how far you've come, it builds confidence. It gives you strength for the next challenge. Every time you remember what you overcame, you realize you're capable of even more. The same story that inspires others can also motivate you. It becomes a reminder that you've already faced storms and survived. You've already been through what others thought would destroy you, and you're still standing. That's not weakness. That's not weakness. That's power. Sharing your story doesn't mean you have to be loud or public about it. It can be as simple as encouraging a friend, mentoring someone younger, or being vulnerable in a conversation. Inspiration isn't always shouted from a stage. Sometimes it's whispered from the heart. You never know how far your words can travel. A single conversation, a single message, a single act of openness can ripple through someone's life and change their direction completely. That's what happens when you stop hiding your story and start using it. But here's the truth. You can't share what you haven't accepted. Before your story can inspire others, it has to heal you. You've got to stop running from your past and start learning from it. Everything you've experienced has shaped who you are today. The heartbreaks, the failures, the betrayals, they've all taught you something. When you begin to see your story not as a series of mistakes, but as a journey of growth, it transforms you. That's when your story becomes unstoppable. Inspiration starts with action. Too many people are waiting to feel inspired before they move, but that's not how it works. You don't wake up one day filled with motivation out of nowhere. You create it by moving, by doing, by taking that first step, even when you don't feel ready. The people who change their lives, the ones who make a difference, don't wait for the perfect mood or the perfect moment. They act first, because action breeds momentum, and momentum creates inspiration. You can't think your way into greatness. You gotta act your way into it. Every great story, every success, every breakthrough began with someone doing something. It didn't start with a perfect plan or endless motivation. It started with a decision to stop waiting and start doing. That first step might be small. It might even feel insignificant, but it's the most important one because it gets you moving. The hardest part of any journey isn't the middle or the end, it's the beginning. Once you take action, everything changes. You start to build belief in yourself. You start to see progress, and that progress fuels you to keep going. Some people sit around waiting for motivation to strike like lightning. They think, when I feel ready, I'll start. But here's the truth. You'll never feel completely ready. You'll always have doubts, fears, or excuses. Waiting for inspiration is just another form of procrastination. The secret is to move even when you don't feel like it. Do it tired. Do it tired. Do it uncertain, do it scared, but do it. Because once you act, the feeling follows. The energy you think you need to start actually comes after you begin. When you push through that initial resistance, you prove to yourself that you can, and that belief creates more motivation than any speech, quote, or video ever could. Action doesn't just create inspiration for you. It creates it for others. People don't get inspired by your intentions. They get inspired by your execution. They don't care about what you say you'll do. They care about what you actually do. When others see you moving, pushing, grinding, even through challenges, it gives them permission to do the same. It shows them that it's possible. Inspiration isn't contagious because of words. It's contagious because of movement. Every time you act on your goals, every time you show consistency, you send a silent message to the world. If I can do it, so can you. Think about the people who've inspired you. It wasn't just their talk that moved you. It was their example. Eric Thomas didn't become a voice of inspiration just by saying motivational things. He became one because he lived them. When he got up at 3 a.m. to chase his dream, when he worked without excuses, when he turned pain into passion, that was action. That's what made people listen. The world is filled with talkers, but action takers stand out because they're rare. Their consistency demands respect. Their effort tells the truth louder than any words ever could. Taking action also builds confidence. When you sit still, your mind fills with doubts and fears. You start thinking of all the reasons something might not work. But when you act, you give yourself proof. Every small step forward becomes evidence that you're capable. That evidence slowly silences your fear and replaces it with faith. Confidence isn't something you find. It's something you earn through action. Every rep in the gym, every hour of study, every time you show up when it's hard, you're building confidence brick by brick. That's how you grow. That's how you transform from someone who dreams into someone who does. And here's the thing. Action doesn't mean perfection. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to be the best to start. You just need to start. Too many people paralyze themselves with overthinking. They spend months planning, preparing, researching, waiting for conditions to be perfect. But perfection never comes. Progress comes when you take imperfect action. You learn as you go. You adjust, you fail, you rise, and you keep moving. Every mistake teaches you something that thinking never could. You can't steer a parked car. You got to start driving to find your direction. Action also separates dreamers from doers. Everyone wants success, but only a few are willing to move for it. You can say you want to be great, but if your actions don't match your words, then it's just talk. Match your words, then it's just talk. Your daily habits reveal your priorities. If you say you want to change your life, but spend your time doing the same old things, then what you really want is comfort, not change. Inspiration grows when your habits align with your goals. The more you act in the direction of your purpose, the more fuel you give your inner fire. You start to feel unstoppable because you're no longer waiting for life to happen. You're making it happen. Perfection isn't inspiring. Progress is. People think they have to be flawless to be respected, that they have to have it all figured out before they can make a difference. But the truth is, perfection doesn't move anyone. It's progress, raw, messy, consistent progress that touches hearts and changes lives. When people see someone who's struggling, learning, failing, and still showing up, that's what gives them hope. Because perfection feels distant, but progress feels possible. Nobody connects with someone who's untouchable. They connect with someone who's real, someone they can see themselves in, someone who shows that growth is a journey, not a destination. Too often we're taught to hide our flaws, to pretend everything is perfect, to only show the highlight reel. But that's not what inspires people. The world doesn't need another perfect image. It needs more truth. It needs people who are willing to say, I'm still learning, I'm still growing, I'm still trying. Because when you admit that, you're not showing weakness, you're showing courage. It takes strength to be honest about where you are and to keep moving forward anyway. Anyway, that's what real inspiration looks like. Not perfection, but persistence. Not having all the answers, but refusing to quit while you search for them. Progress is powerful because it's relatable. When someone sees you working hard, improving step by step, they realize that they can do it too. When you show up even when you're tired, when you try again after failing, when you keep learning instead of giving up, you're teaching others through your example. You're showing them that greatness isn't a result of being born special. It's built through effort, day by day. Every stumble, every setback, every small victory becomes part of a story that others can draw strength from. That's what makes your journey meaningful. We live in a world obsessed with image. Social media shows everyone's best moments, the wins, the smiles, the achievements. But behind every success you see, there are countless moments of struggle that nobody talks about. When you're honest about your progress, you remind people that failure is part of the process. You remind them that growth takes time and that falling down doesn't mean you're not moving forward. You make the path look real, and that's far more powerful than pretending to be perfect. Because the truth is, perfection doesn't exist. It's an illusion that kills confidence and stops progress before it starts. When you focus on perfection, you stop yourself from trying. You become afraid to make mistakes, afraid to look foolish, afraid to fail. But when you focus on progress, you free yourself to grow. You stop worrying about being the best, and you start working on becoming better. One step at a time, every single day. That's how mastery is built. Not by being flawless, but by being faithful. You show up, you improve, you learn. You stop comparing yourself to others and start competing with who you were yesterday. Progress becomes your measure of success, and every small win becomes fuel for the next one. People don't remember those who never fail. They remember those who refuse to give up after failure. Think about it. Every great story, every hero, every success comes from someone who kept going despite the obstacles. They didn't start perfect, but they kept progressing. That's what made them great. Perfection looks clean, but it's lifeless. Progress looks messy, but it's alive. It's movement, it's energy, it's growth. And that's what people connect with. Motion, not stagnation. When you show that you're still in the process, you give others permission to start theirs. Progress also teaches humility. When you're always learning, you understand that you don't know everything. And that's okay. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you curious. It keeps you human. Perfection builds pride, but progress builds character. Every challenge you face becomes a lesson. Every mistake becomes wisdom. You start to appreciate the journey more than the destination. You stop seeing setbacks as failures and start seeing them as feedback. Every experience, good or bad, becomes part of your growth. And here's the beauty. People who chase progress are happier than those who chase perfection. Perfectionists are never satisfied. No matter how much they achieve, it's never enough. But when you chase progress, small victory, celebrate small victories. You recognize your growth. You appreciate how far you've come. That gratitude keeps you motivated and positive. You start to see that success isn't about arriving at some final point. It's about continuing to move forward, learning, evolving, becoming a little better every day. Progress also builds trust. When people see you being transparent about your process, they trust you more. They see your authenticity. They see that you're not pretending to be something you're not. They see your heart. Legacy is internal. True impact isn't about what you leave for people. It's about what you leave in them. Too many people spend their lives chasing money, fame, titles, or material success, thinking that's what defines their legacy. But things fade. Money gets spent, fame disappears, titles lose meaning. Yet the way you made people feel, the lessons you taught, the inspiration you gave, that's what lasts forever. You don't have to be rich or powerful to leave a legacy. You just have to live in a way that changes the people around you, even in small ways. Because long after you're gone, the world will remember not your possessions, but your presence. When people think of legacy, they often think of something big, buildings, companies, history books. But real legacy doesn't require a stage or a spotlight. Real legacy happens in everyday moments, in the way you treat people, in the love you show, in the words you speak, in the example you live. Every action you take leaves an imprint on someone's life, whether you realize it or not. The smile you give, the encouragement you offer, they help you provide when someone's struggling. Those moments shape hearts. And when you touch someone's heart, your influence never dies. Legacy begins with intention. You have to decide what kind of energy you want to leave behind. Are you spreading positivity or negativity? Are you building others up or tearing them down? Because every word, every action, every choice contributes to the story. People will tell about you when you're gone, when your name is mentioned years from now. What do you want people to feel? Gratitude? Inspiration? Respect? That's not created by one grand act. It's created by a lifetime of small, consistent acts that come from the heart. The greatest legacies in history often came from people who didn't even know they were building one. Teachers who believed in students when no one else did. Parents who sacrificed everything for their children. Friends who stood by you when life fell apart. Those people might not have been famous, but they changed lives. And that's the purest form of legacy. Because legacy is not about recognition, it's about transformation. It's about leaving the world a little better because you were in it. You can't take material things with you when you go, but the impact you leave in people's lives on through generations. The kindness you show today can echo into the future. The advice you give might guide someone years after you're gone. The courage you show might inspire someone else to stand up when they face their own battles. That's how legacy spreads, not through wealth or power, but through the invisible threads of influence that tie us all together. Every good deed, every kind word, every act of love adds to that legacy. It's easy to get caught up in the chase for success. But you have to ask yourself, what's it all for? If you achieve everything you want but don't make anyone's life better, what have you really achieved? Success without significance is empty. The people who leave the deepest mark aren't always the ones who had the most, but the ones who gave the most. The ones who cared enough to help, to uplift, to inspire, to guide. You can have all the awards in the world, but if you haven't left something in people's hearts, you've missed the point. Legacy also means living your values, not just talking about them. It's easy to preach kindness, honesty, and hard work, but true legacy comes when your life reflects those values daily. When people see that you walk your talk, they remember, they respect it, they carry it forward. You don't inspire others by being perfect. You inspire them by being consistent, by living with integrity even when no one's watching. That's the kind of legacy that can't be faked or forgotten. Sometimes legacy isn't even about what you do. It's about who you become. When you grow, when you heal, when you overcome your pain and turn it into purpose, that transformation radiates outwards. People see your growth and find courage to start their own. When you break cycles, when you rise above your past, you're not just changing your story, you're changing your family's story, your community's story, maybe even someone else's future. That's legacy too, healing yourself so others can be free. The truth is, you're building your legacy right now, whether you realize it or not. Every interaction, every choice, every moment is part of it. You don't have to wait until you're older, richer, or more successful to make a difference. You can start today. Be kind when it's hard. Forgive when it's painful. Encourage someone when you can stay silent. Live with purpose even when no one's watching. These are the things that build an internal legacy, one that outlasts time itself. Your legacy lives through the people you touch. The child who watched how you worked hard. The friend who learned how to keep going because of your strain.